YouTube, I'm back again. I got a new lesson for you today. This one is 16th notes between snare and floor tom, because what is cooler than a popping snare and an epically bassy floor tom with kicks and such. I decided I'd do this lesson because I was having weaknesses here and I really wanted to expand this department for myself, because I think it's really cool and it sounds pretty epic when you can mesh these two basically completely different instruments almost together because of the difference in sound. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it. So the first exercise is very basic because you wanna start basic to build a good foundation. You can't do well in anything without a strong foundation. And plus, if you start with a good foundation, all the harder things will come easier later. Okay. So the first exercise is just 16th notes. All of these are 16th notes. The first one is going to be 4 hits on the snare, 4 hits on the floor tom, 4 hits on the snare, 4 on the floor tom. Very basic. You could also reverse it so that you start on the floor tom for the 1 count, and then snare on 2, floor tom on 3, snare on 4. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So exercise 1 very slowly with the snare, as count 1 sounds like this. And very slowly, if you were to reverse it, which I would recommend doing just to train yourself to do better at it, sounds like this. Now, that exercise sped up with the snare as the 1 count sounds like this. So work at it, use a metronome. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to get a metronome on the video. That will be coming very soon, I promise. Moving right along, exercise number 2. This one is a little different because of the way it's orchestrated. Tiny bit trickier just because there's like this weird feeling to it. It doesn't feel like the 1 count falls where it should almost. You'll see what I mean when you hear it. So basically it will go 1 E and 2 E and but then this is where it changes. So it'll go 3 E and 4 E and So you end up with this weird grouping where there's 4 hits of floor tom in one part and then 4 hits of snare as it loops around. So you may want to accent that 1 with the snare hit. These are all straight singles, so right, left, right, left, right, left. And this is what that sounds like played very slowly. And this is what it sounds like sped up. So work on it, loop it, break it down if you have to in half, and it'll make it a lot easier. Okay, moving right along to exercise number 3. This one is also a little different. It might even be a little easier than the second one, to be honest. It has a little bit of a weird orchestration though, so it kind of almost feels like it should be triplets, but it's not. It's 16th notes. So this one, it's going to start with 2 kicks because often we only throw 1 kick in when we do linear fills even, such as this one. So I thought maybe 2 kicks at the beginning might strengthen that ability while working on this ability as well. So this one goes kick, kick, so 1 E, and then you're gonna go and 2 E and So kick, kick, floor tom, snare, snare, floor tom. Then it will repeat again. What you could do instead, if you wanted, was reverse it, so it goes kick, kick, snare, snare, floor tom, snare, snare, and then on the second loop do it kick, kick, floor tom, snare, snare, floor tom. But I won't get into that too far today. It's just an idea for you and something I'm also playing around with. This rudiment is very versatile actually, and you can move it around the kit and it sounds pretty cool. So I'll get right to playing it. So here we go. So it goes. So that's it, very slow, so you know what's going on. And then this is it sped up. And sped up even more. So there we go. So that's exercise 3. Again, like I said, you can mess around with it, flip some stuff around and try that out because it's really cool and it's really fun once you get to it. Okay, we're now on to exercise number 4. Exercise number 4 is a little bit harder. I decided to throw a crossover in there. You could play it as a paradiddle, but play it as singles and do the crossover because it will strengthen that ability and make you more comfortable moving back and forth between the two surfaces. Okay, so it starts off with snare, snare, floor tom, snare, and then floor tom, snare, floor tom. And that's where your crossover is. So you see how it's a paradiddle because it's going snare, snare, floor tom, snare, floor tom, snare, floor tom. Okay, so what I would do is play this half first, get this half down, and then learn the second half and link them together. So the first half played slowly sounds like this. So get that down. Learn it with a metronome and then move on to the second half after. So the second half sounds like this. It goes snare, snare, floor tom for 3E and a, and then your 4E and a will all be played on the floor tom. So that will sound like this. Okay, now you've got the two halves down, so then you're just going to link them together, which will sound like this, played very slowly. Great, now you can play all of it and then just get it up to speed, which will sound like this. And you can get that way faster if you want, and just keep working at these exercises and you will find that you improve massively between the snare and the floor tom. The last one will strengthen it a lot, I believe, because this sequential hits on the floor tom from the three count of like 3E and then you play the 4E and here. It just strengthens that ability because we often don't put so many in a row on the floor tom. Okay, so that's it for today. Remember to subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. So that's 2 full loops of it. And this is what it will sound like.
That was at the end of the hall, which was nice. Good call maneuvering. I get hit from the stairwell. Decide